Hey everyone, welcome again to another episode of Disability Landscape. I'm your host, Charlie Brose. With me, as usual, is Mark Knudsen. Mark, who do we have today?
Today we have an individual that I met a couple years ago. I met him through comedy. We would do open mics thinking we are funny, but that's in our head, not other head. But no, I want to introduce Brian McDaniel. He can be seen on a variety of media outlets. You're on with Tom Hauser on Channel 5 at Issues. Mm-hmm. You can also be seen at times on Almanac on TBT, Channel 2. And then you also have your own podcast, Wrong About Everything, correct?
That's correct, Mark.
Okay, so I anything else? Oh, I did miss something, I think. Go ahead.
Oh, well, actually, every Monday I'm on the Bob Sansevier show, the BS show.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, every Monday. And then periodically I'm on the Justice and Drew show on AM 1130. That's radio.
Okay.
So, just king of all media.
Yeah, but you do more than just those media. You teach political science.
Yep.
I
also teach a class called Politics and Government
Gotcha.
at Concordia University, St. Paul. It's essentially American government.
Okay. And that's why we have you here. I mean, if you want to help us become media kings, we'll talk offline about that. But I wanted to have you on to talk about having a voice in government, which is very important, being an advocate. And for those of us with disabilities, that's very important. So I kind of wanted to let you talk about, because you also do some lobbying, I believe. So.
Yeah. So
let's start off. What is the importance of having a voice at the Capitol or somewhere in the government?
So my real job is I'm a government relations attorney. And so essentially, I'm a lobbyist, if you're familiar with that term.
Yep.
So I'm up at the Capitol when the legislative session starts in January. I'm there almost every day from January till May. I'm what they call a contract lobbyist. So I work for many different types of clients. So where Mark got the idea that I would do this is I represent a lot of healthcare.
Yep.
So I'm kind of in this space. And one of the things I can tell you is that there's something called direct lobbying and there's something called indirect lobbying.
Oh, okay.
So direct lobbying would be an organization, whether it's with the disability community or dentists or iron mining. They might they'll form an association and they will hire somebody like me to go to the Capitol and then advocate on their behalf.
Sure.
I will meet with representatives. I will meet with senators. I'll meet with their staff. I'll help draft bills, or try to stop bills that maybe are harmful. But that is me going up there, advocating on behalf of a group of people. And that works great because if you were in a car accident or needed to sue somebody, you could represent yourself.
Sure.
But you probably would hire an attorney to help you navigate the legal system.
Sure.
Yep.
You don't have to be an attorney to do what I do. In fact, probably about half of the lobbyists aren't. But essentially what it is it's groups of people hiring me and people like me to help them navigate the legislative system. Because some people they can't be up at the Capitol every day. They don't know when is this committee hearing, when is this bill going to be up. It's just something that doesn't lend itself to being with people with real jobs and real lives.
So it's really, like you're saying, understanding the system, how to go about things. And then I would also think it would also involve maybe some of the connections you've had with the politicians then. I mean, why can't someone just off the street? Why can't I just go to the Capitol and say, hey, I want to talk
Well, I mean,
you could, but the chances of
yeah, in reality, you can. One
Yeah.
of the problems is that they keep shutting down the buildings
right.
for COVID reasons or
Yeah,
other
yeah.
reasons. But I
Yeah.
could take a whole hour talking about all of that stuff. But really, I mean, in a perfect world, regular people would be able to go up to the Capitol. They'd be able to advocate for themselves or others, and then do that directly with their elected officials. The process is just too big, too complicated now, too convoluted. Where the term lobbyist comes from is people used to hang out in the lobby of like the Capitol buildings, and then that's where they would meet Abraham Lincoln or State Representative so and so. But obviously, everything's more complex now, and it's even made more complex by the advent of all of these technologies that allow legislators to kind of legislate by way of Zoom.
Sure.
And when we're in the middle of a pandemic, that makes a lot of sense. But it also is one more step away from being close to the people. And so I can go up there, I do go up there, I advocate. And because I've been doing this, this will be my 22nd year up there.
Okay.
So, I know all the people know me. I have cell phone numbers. I can reach your state representative, your senator. It is much more difficult for regular people to be able to navigate that. They can send in an email, and then you don't know who sees it. A lot of times it goes to people, and they really do value their constituents, but you don't know what's going to happen. So
because you've established a relationship.
Yes,
already.
but and this is one of the, and I'll actually answer your question, but one of the problems with the current system is that it really does lend itself to where you almost have to have a lobbyist or somebody do it for you because it's too difficult. You wouldn't have the ability to go up there and advocate for yourself. But while I described direct lobbying,
I was going to say, what's the
indirect lobbying is really important. And what that would be, another term for that would be like grassroots. Because I'm up there every day. Like I said, everyone knows Brian knows everyone. But sometimes I'm not the best messenger. If I'm up there and let's just say that I'm working on an issue that's important to the disability community.
Right.
As an able-bodied person, I could go up there and I can advocate for you, and they're going to believe me, they're going to trust me. But
you don't have
those stories are so much more impactful when they come from people in the community.
Yeah, because you're not living the experience, or you don't have a child or someone with a disability.
So what I would say is that especially with the disability community, and am I using the right term there?
Yes.
Sure. I want to make sure I'm using the right term.
Yeah, that's okay.
But anyway,
we'll bleep you out if we have to.
but especially with the disability community, your stories are so impactful, and a lot of times there's a visual component to it. Whether you're speaking about your own struggles or someone in your family, that if there was a committee hearing, I might go up there and introduce you, but I would want you to testify. And your state representative, your senator, they like me. They like me just fine. But you know what? I don't vote for them. They want to know about the people who are in their district. And so while it's more convenient for you to have me be up there on your behalf, a very important component of that is having people in the disability community talk to their local elected officials, because they are beholden to the people, and they need and they owe it to their constituents to be listening to their stories and advocating on their behalf.
Yeah, because they really need to start, like you're saying, talking to their county reps, their local representatives, representatives, senators, whatever it may be, to start there, to start getting into the process of that.
And it really lends itself to people who might say, well, I wouldn't even know how to do it.
Right.
You're not supposed to know how to do it.
Yep.
So if you belong to wouldn't even be able to name them all, but there are so many associations that are set up already that are involved at the Capitol on behalf of the disability community.
Right. Oh,
that
yep.
if you contact them and say, I want to get involved, they will jump at it.
Yes.
Because the hardest thing to do is to find, we call them real people, is to find
right.
real people
Yep,
to come
yep.
up and tell their stories. Because those of us who this is our job, we can move the ball so far, but to
Right.
get it across the goal line, normally we will need the community to do that with us.
As a lobbyist, though, let's say we have a local issue like paratransit. That's Metropolitan Council, but it's still, the purse strings are still held by the state, I believe.
Well, I used to be on the Met Council. So.
And, okay, so if you're a lobbyist for them, for, say, paratransit, and it's largely based in the Twin Cities, how do you get the interest of a rep from, say, Hibbing or Worthington or Alexandria?
Well, it is difficult because a lot of people think that up at the Capitol that it's Republicans versus Democrats.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's rural versus metro.
Yeah.
And it's not red and blue. Trump and Hillary and Biden have nothing to do with what I do 99.9% of the time.
Right.
But that's an excellent thing because when people talk about, and I do some transportation lobbying as well, when people talk about transit, they're thinking about trains or they're thinking about buses.
The buses,
They don't
yeah.
understand how expansive the system is, and that rural Minnesota has and the suburbs and whatnot have a lot of transit that isn't just Southwest Metro, train and all
Right,
that.
right.
Yeah.
So the same organizations that can help with Health and Human Services type things, that they also will also lobby the Transportation Committee and the Department of Transportation, and we do that a lot, trying to get increased funding for transit, for roads and bridges, all that, because transportation isn't the sexy issue.
Right.
It's not like
No.
it's not like education and healthcare, which always kind of specialized,
Right.
where they have these strong constituencies. We all use roads. We all use all these different things, but everyone says they support that, and then when it comes time to fund it, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So we actually, if you guys know people that are willing to be vocal on those issues, I can plug you in. I can tell you who to go talk to for sure.
Yeah, because I think when you had mentioned about it's really important for individuals to come to the Capitol and talk, because especially if you have a disability, they can see how, the impact. Because for a lot of folks who so-called are able-bodied, everyone can understand others' issues. Okay, education or whatever. It's all for the able-bodied people, transportation, whatever. But when it comes to disabilities and the needs that we have, most people don't even have a clue. And you need that person to represent themselves to really explain to them, hey, we are here, we do live, we're just not staying home all the time. We have a life. So
well, and because with almost all issues, people grow up, knowing what they know, and they don't know what they don't know. And I think especially with the disability community, until you've watched it or you've heard a friend tell you about it, you don't understand the struggle. My former mother-in-law has been in a wheelchair the whole time I've known her. And she lived with us for a while, so I got to see the struggles of how hard it is to do the simplest things sometimes, or how horrible people can be to you if you park your van a little bit over the line, even though you're obviously it's a wonder that you could do it at all in some conditions. Or when you're at a theater and someone thinks that your chair is up too high, you wouldn't guess of just the day-to-day troubles that people have. And legislators are regular people.
Exactly.
back in their hometown, wherever that might be, they're dentists, they're teachers, they're lawyers, they're
Right.
farmers,
Right.
and they might not have had a lot of experience with these things. And
Especially in the small towns.
yeah, and they can't know everything. They don't know everything about education, healthcare, taxes, transportation. So they need lobbyists to educate them, and they need people in the community to educate them, because they might think they know something, but they don't know it until they've experienced it or had someone that they trust tell them about it.
Yeah. And one of the things that I want to mention, and forgive me, I forget the exact title and who sponsors this, but I think it's the Consortium of Disabilities. They're a consortium of organizations that are related for disability. So like the Pacer Center, ARC, and all that, they have their own kind of an association.
Yes, yes.
This Consortium of Disabilities. And what they do is, while in session, every Tuesday down by the Capitol, they have Capitol Tuesday. So individuals with disabilities can come down and hear about what's going on in the disabled community. It's also a time for disabled community organizations to talk about what they have going on, and being it's at the Capitol, sometimes they're able to get the politicians, the reps, the senators to come. So that's definitely one way. If you have a disability and want to get involved, you can get involved at Tuesday, Capitol Tuesdays. I forget the exact title. I feel bad about that, but we'll have information as the show is. As you're watching it, you'll magically have information about that.
Well, and one thing to always remember is that the elected officials, they work for you.
Right.
It's not something like, oh, it was so great for them to share their time with us. No. They are elected by us to listen to our stories and advocate for us. We're a representative government. That's that when people say, well, we're a democracy. Nope, we're not. We're a republic. So we elect people to represent our interests. And I think that the only way that reps and senators can forget that is if their constituents forget that and don't hold them to that. And you are never an interruption of their work. You're always the purpose of it.
Now, in your 22 years, have you encountered someone that just closed-minded, said, I came here with one objective, and that's all I'm doing?
Most of them. And that's not always bad, but a lot of times they'll come in with a focus, and it might be education, it might be healthcare, it might be taxes or tax reform, and that's not rare. But they do serve on multiple committees, and it's very possible that your state representative or senator isn't on a committee that maybe would deal with issues that are important to the people who are watching the show. But that doesn't mean that they wouldn't ultimately be voting on these things on the House or Senate floor. So it's never a waste of their time to learn. And there's lots of times where I'm going to meet with a rep or senator, and I know that they're going to oppose what I'm talking about. But I want to educate them so that at least when they're saying I'm voting no for this reason, that they're voting no with the correct facts. Because there are lots of times that people are out there spouting nonsense. It's like, hey, be against me, vote no, but at least vote no for the right reasons.
Yeah. Now, I'm glad you said committee, because I was going to ask a question. I know this is a very vague in a way, and there's a lot of committees, but you always hear that this bill or this is in this committee, that committee. I mean, what are the different types of committees are there?
So, when a bill gets introduced, a bill that means anything, it goes to the House and Senate, and it's identical. It has to be introduced identical.
Okay.
But then once it's introduced, it gets sent to a committee. And there are different years, there's different numbers of committees. But let's just say there's Health and Human Services Finance, Health and Human Services Policy, something like that. So what a bill will do is it'll end up being sent to one of those committees, and then a certain number of reps and senators are on that committee, and they will debate that bill. They can alter it, they can amend it, they can add more to it, take stuff away, or send it along. And what's going to happen is it could be different in the House and Senate. And it might go through multiple committees. Most bills do go through multiple committees. But when they're passed off the House and Senate floor, they might be different. Then they go to what's called a conference committee.
Okay.
And it has to come out of the conference committee identical. And then,
okay.
because ultimately they have to pass the exact same bill in the House and Senate in order for it to go to the governor.
go to the governor. Okay.
So, but as far as like how many committees are there, boy, I don't even know. There's a lot of them, and some of them have nothing to do with anything. We always joke and say, well, we'll just send that to the soybean subcommittee, and that's where something will go to die. But there are the big ones you think of: transportation.
Nothing against the soybean people.
No,
I want to put that disclaimer out there.
They're looking for a lobbyist. I'm interested.
So there's a lot of wrangling and horse trading and bargaining that goes on once it hits the conciliatory committee, right?
Conference committee, yeah.
Yeah, conference committee.
Yeah, so what happens there is that quite often, especially now in Minnesota, for a long time, we've had divided government. You know, the Republicans are in charge of the Senate, the Democrats are in charge of the House. So quite often, the bills are very different. Sometimes it's just that one body wants more money and then the other one, and they have to find a middle ground. Now, finding a middle ground is harder these days because you know, reaching across the aisle is seen as treason, and both parties should be a pox on both their houses for that. But you know, if they go in there with the right frame of mind, what they're doing is they're not only saying, okay, here's how much money we have, let's fit this bill into that fiscal structure, but a lot of times they're dealing with policy, and it might be that the House wants something that the Senate doesn't want, or vice versa, but they might trade. You know, they'll say, we'll give you this provision if you give us this provision, and then that's really how the sausage gets made.
Right.
Oh.
And this coming year, we've just announced a record-setting budget surplus. How much infighting is this going to cost?
Oh, all the fighting. Because they fight more when they have money than when they don't have money.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes cutting things is easier.
Gosh.
But what's going to happen is that there really are fundamental differences. Let's remember that when the state has a budget surplus, that's saying the state collected too much money.
That's true.
Right.
That's your money. That's my money.
Yep.
So the House, the House and Senate are going to have different ideas. The Republicans in the Senate are going to say, well, that's the people's money. Let's give a portion of it back.
Yep.
The House is going to say, we have a historic opportunity to fund priorities that we haven't had money for. And that's what they're going to fight about. Is there going to be a middle ground? Boy, it's my job to help them find it.
Some long hours at the Capitol, I would imagine.
Come at me again in May. I'll tell you how we did. But it is something where, because there's an election in November, that will make it harder for them.
That's a whole other dynamic.
That'll make them harder to come to a deal because neither side will want to campaign saying I gave something up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's.
It does sound contentious over there.
It's
on
contentious,
a daily
but
basis.
as much as you hear of all the horrible things on politics, there are wonderful people that want to do good in both parties, in both bodies, and they just have to find ways to be louder. And how they get louder is by having a lot of people with them, a lot of support with them. So those people, if they can say, look at the support I have for my bill, and that's people from the community, then that it will really help them be able to push their agenda. And we do have money right now, which normally we don't. So for a lot of things, I would say now or never.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. This is the time to do it.
Now we also see that that money is here this year. Maybe it won't be there next year.
Well, I mean,
so you make these big expenditures and then go next year. Oops, we got to cut something.
Well, and kind of the phrase they say is you can't have ongoing spending with one-time money.
Yeah.
We have one-time money right now. Yeah. So if we were to do something like you hear a lot about paid family leave,
right,
that would do a lot of good. You'd have to figure out not how to pay for it this year or next year. How do you pay for it in 5 years?
Right.
10 years?
Because you still got to look down the road.
You have to look down the road.
The money this year, let's build a couple new bridges, things like that, things that are necessary, that are one-time expenditures.
Yep. And a lot of that happens in what they call the bonding bill.
Okay.
And a lot of times that's like the state's credit card, but sometimes they do it with cash. And so we have a lot of cash right now. So we can do a lot of projects. The ongoing ones are just trickier.
Yeah.
Well, great. No, this has been great, Brian. Once again, I haven't seen you for a while. I've been meaning to get you in. I thought, and this is perfect timing because with the session just around the corner, you'll be busy down at the Capitol, and we don't have a remote truck that we can go down there and interview you at the Capitol. So it's a good time to get you in the studio.
I'll come back anytime.
I know you will. That would be great. So
I think we'd follow you around the Capitol one day, but we'd have to need bigger motors on our chairs.
There's a lot of running.
All right. I want to thank our guest, Brian McDaniel, and my co-host, Mark Knutson. I'm Charlie Brose. This has been Disability Landscape. We'll see you next time.